So I thought I'll do a quick tell me when guide to show some of the basics and then go into a bit deeper things. In this video we'll cover how to create new groups, how to manage their layouts, how to create new icons, some basic types of icons, and then also a bit on conditions. So first of all, I'm going to type tell me when, and this will open. There are two ways of creating groups. The first is I find an empty icon, I right click and drag, and then I do split into a new group. The second is if I right click on an icon, I can go to group, and then new profile group. I always recommend giving names to your groups. I'll do this demo. This will make it much easier to manage them in the future. Now if we want, let's clean this up a bit. So if I want to change the layout of my group, first if I left click and drag, I can resize. If I right click and drag, I can change the number and layout of the icons. Okay, so now let's talk about icons. The first thing we want to do is choose an icon, and I right click it. The first item we will look at is the reactive ability. So this name is a bit confusing, but this is basically the best way to track abilities in spells. So you can see I can do range check, cooldown check, power check, and so forth. And what we will for now try, for example, let's create a condition for a rising sun kick. So this is an icon for rising sun kick. Let's do a power check and a range check and a cooldown check. Now you can see that I have various sliders. These will change the opacity of the icon based on these. So for example, if a spell is not ready, I can make it to 70% opacity. If it's out of range, to go to 30%, and then out of power 50%. The last thing we can do is that we can make sure to also show us the timer on the cooldown. So it's always useful to do show timer and allow global cooldown, and I also like to do show timer text. Now let's see this icon in action. So as you can see, it's grayed out, it's out of power. Now it's out of power but in range. So I go generate some chi, now it's visible, and now we can see the timer and the duration. Okay, now let's check another type of an icon. Let's go for a buff and a debuff. So these are, as their name suggests, they're buff and debuffs. Let's track a cooldown. Let's track storm, earth, and fire. Storm, earth, and fire. By the way, I don't know if you saw it, but if we go start typing, there is a completion list. We can left click it to choose, or we can do with the keyboard to navigate, and then if we click tab, it auto completes. So let's look at some of the stuff we can track on buffs and debuffs. So first of all, if it's all present or not present, I usually go all present. We can go show timer and show timer text, and this will show the timer and timer text, and the debuff will only show if it's available. So let's try this now. So the icon is not present, but if I start the debuff, the cooldown, then it shows me the icon and the cooldown. Okay, the last thing I thought will be interesting to show, let's reset this icon, is to show how conditions work. Now, conditions are probably the most important feature of Tell Me When, the most powerful, and I think one of the things that really makes it stand apart is how strong it is. So let's do another rising sun kick. But instead of using these, we'll create a new condition. Let's say that we only want to show a rising sun kick if our chi is larger than 3. By the way, for all sliders, you can use the sliders just by dragging it, or you can right click for some of them and then modify them. This would work, for example, for range check. So let's say only if our chi is larger or equal to 3 will show rising sun kick. Now you can see that once we added a condition, it added a new slider for failed condition. Let's make it 50. Okay, so now our icon will not show until we have 3 chi. There we go. So this was a very, very basic guide on the pure basics of Timewind, and future guides will show a bit about how we can do much more powerful things with it.